everybody? It is your boy, back to it once again on this beautiful Monday. It's actually kind of nice outside today. Not as nice as it was Saturday. It got a little chilly and windy Saturday too, but still kind of nice. We still a little short from average temperatures for April, and yesterday was Easter Sunday. As a matter of fact, hope everybody had a happy and blessed Easter Sunday, and welcome to Easter Monday. Right? I know you parents are probably in a way, parents are probably in a good way now, getting the kids back into school after being home for a week. I know the teachers are probably like, wish we could have stretched this out maybe just a touch more, a little bit more, but y'all know the schedule, y'all know how it goes. But got a few things to talk about today. Definitely got some things to talk about. Like I said, it's going to be a fun day today. I got one special topic that I want to bring to the table a little bit later. I posted it already. So if you saw the post, take a minute, get over there, because I'm a little early. So take a minute, get over there, check out the post. It's about the two teams, which all-time starting five would win if they were to play. Anyway, make sure you check that out before I get to it, and I'll let you know when I'm getting to that. Also, you know what it is today. We got some scores and updates as always. NCAA tournament women's championship was yesterday. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Preview, a little bit of talk about the men's title game tonight. And we're going to move on from there. Excuse me. Y'all know where I'm working on some rebranding. So some of the stories are going to might seem a little off to some people. You probably wonder why he's going this way, why he's doing this, but it's all going to tie in together. I did it strategically, and the stories that I'm going to bring in that are always going to be strategic, and they'll always tie in some type of way. All right. So some scores from yesterday to kick off and get the thing rolling. All right, y'all know where I'm at anyway as well. Instagram, TikTok, at SportsRap CEO. Simultaneously live right there, so make sure y'all check in, chime in. Remember, when you get on my Instagram, when you get there, make sure you let me know who you are, so I can give you a shout out. I'll wave to you to let me know. And if you're on my TikTok, shoot me a message or something. Let me know who you are. Let me know you're tuned in. All right. So yesterday in the NBA, the Raptors fall to the Celtics 115-101. Good help for the Sixers. Thank you, Celtics there. Wizards fall to the Nets 121-115. The Suns get by the Bulls 120-110. The Grizzlies get beat up on by the Bucks 131-115. The Pacers fall to the Cavs 117-108. The Hornets get by the T-Wolves 122-108. The Magic get by the Pelicans 112-108. The Jazz fall to the Thunder 146-111. The Lakers fall to the Mavs 134-128. Clippers get by the Kings 138-109. And the final game, nail biter, almost won by Steph Curry in his first game back, but they fall to the Rockets 117-116. In Major League Baseball, the Orioles get beat by the Pirates 8-2. Dodgers in a close one beat the Nationals, 8-6. The Marlins in a tight one sweep past the Yankees 7-6. Padres 8, Red Sox 6. The Guardians get blanked by the Cubs 1-0. The Brewers get by the Royals 8-5. The Rays 4, Twins 1. The Jays get shut out by the White Sox 3-0. The Reds get by the Rangers 2-1. The Phillies fall in Colorado to the Rockies 4-1. The Astros and the A's battle in a tight one. A's take that 12-10. The Mets get by the Giants 5-2. Mariners fall to the Angels in a tight one as well, 8-7. Another tight one, D-backs get by the Braves 6-5. The Cardinals 5, Tigers 3. In the second game, Cubs, Guardians. Guardians take that one 6-5. In the NHL, the Wild and the Red Wings, the Wild hold on 5-4. The Panthers fall to the Penguins 5-2. The Flyers skate past the Bruins 2-1. The Blues and the Avalanche, Blues take that 3-2. Hurricanes get doubled up on by the Senators 6-3. The Canadians get blanked by the Devils 3-0. The Capitals fall to the Rangers 8-1. And like I said, in the women's title NCAA tournament, South Carolina versus UCLA. UCLA, in a big way, they take that game 79-51. So, while I'm there, I might as well start there. I mean, there's no better place to start than there, right? And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start there. Excuse me for turning away for just a second. Start there. I took that breath when I gave you that last score because I was torn between that game. Coach Rich, thanks for tuning in as always on IG. I was torn between who I wanted to win in that game. Had a little bit of on both sides. All right. Of course, South Carolina. Although, slightly aside from the great job that Dawn has done as a coach overall, and since she has been at South Carolina, earning her the highest paid women's coach in college basketball. But anyway, hometown, all right? Hometown African-American woman having the success that she has. Definitely had no doubt that I was rooting for her. Like I said, African-American woman. Grew up here in Philly, North Philly to be exact. And like I said, the impact that she has had on women's basketball is amazing. Right? It's amazing. But on the other side, good friend of mine, James Clark. I think he's assistant coach, but not think he's assistant coach, but I also think he's on player development out there at UCLA. Good dude, basketball trainer. You've seen him on the show several times. We've talked. Good, like I said, good friend. So again, like I said, I was torn. I even sent him a message and said it to him. I said, listen, Brody, I'm a little torn. You know, you're my guy. I said, but Dawn is home. But in an epic fashion, UCLA takes the crown. Their first crown. And surprisingly, the point margin that they won by is the largest in NCAA history for a women's team that has just won their first title. So kudos to them. Like I said, I'm not, I couldn't be upset. I'm not upset. I'm not disturbed about it. Like I said, I was just torn between the two sides. Just talking a little bit about the game and the things that I said to some people prior to the game actually being played. Of course, I was going to root for Dawn, like I said, her hometown ties and everything else. But I also did mention that UCLA, I thought and felt that UCLA was bigger, and they were. I also thought that UCLA was well coached. And again, don't get me wrong. This is not saying that Dawn's team is not well coached. It's not, because she outcoached Gino in that Final Four game to get to the championship. So, I'm not saying that they aren't well coached. I think the UCLA Final Four game against Texas, I think that kind of gave them a little bit better or more clearer idea of what they could have possibly seen from Dawn and her South Carolina team. They prepared for it extremely well, and they executed extremely well. The game was pretty much over. Like, it was over early. I hate to say it, but it was over early. All right, so again, kudos to them for winning their first national title. Also, a lot of those girls were upperclassmen, I think juniors and seniors. And again, I'm not saying that's a big issue or whatever. They still got to play basketball. Freshman, sophomore, junior, whatever. You still got to get on the court and play. All right, and again, I think that UCLA came in with an amazing game plan. Again, like I said, amazing game plan. They executed, and it showed how they ran away with that game yesterday. And now flipping back to the other side, in somewhat defense of my girl, she didn't have enough shooting on the team this year. She didn't have enough bigs on the team this year. And her team was a lot younger. I think Dawn had a lot more younger players, freshmen and sophomores, than UCLA did. So that experience thing. And I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you all, and some people might look at me, might think about it and say, but still, this, that. Yeah, you can have the talent. But again, we also know basketball comes down to IQ too as well. So being that junior, that senior, it helps. All right. You may not believe it, whatever, but it helps. You ask any coach at that level, it helps. All right. So again, like I said, Dawn was just not. The teams just didn't match up well. I'll say that. Again, Dawn didn't have enough shooting. Again, not big enough, and the maturity and the experience. And I don't mean just tournament. I just mean experience playing together for a number of years. Kind of like that Villanova team. Kind of like they described the New York Knicks now, when they had Dante, Brunson, and Hart, but they still have three. Now they have Hart, Brunson, and Mikal Bridges, who all played together at Villanova. So when they're on the court together, the game is that much easier for them, right? So that's what I meant about UCLA having those girls that were juniors and seniors. Certain situations and the overall game is just that much easier for them, right? Because they played a lot of basketball together, right? But I mean, again, I know what I've seen from Dawn over the past years. She will always get recruits. I think she'll be back. It may not be next year, but I'm very confident that she'll be back in the mix. Her teams are always, like I said, her teams are always good. They just didn't have enough last night. Just this year, go around this title game, they just didn't have enough. And again, like I said, it showed all from start to finish. It showed, right? So again, kudos to UCLA women's basketball for winning the national title. Again, shout outs to my guy, James Clark. You can look him up on Instagram at ClarkJ22. I think it's ClarkJ_22. Give him a shout out. Tell him you know me. If I don't get off here and try to call him today, I send him messages. I'm sure he's busy. I may try and actually give him a call tomorrow or something. But again, shout outs to him if you're tuned in. If not, if you check out YouTube or whatever, I may tag you in the video. But shout outs to you again for that, good friend. Great job, Brody. Definitely happy for you. So let's stay with the basketball theme, if you will. NBA is coming down to the stretch, not especially, but for all the teams. The Sixers are skating on that ice with some things that transpired over the weekend. They have now moved up into the sixth spot. Again, like we said, that tiebreaker over Orlando and Miami, over the Magic, the Raptors, and the Hornets. The Raptors lost and the Sixers won, so they moved up over the weekend. Sixers were 1-1 over the weekend, right? But last night, or the other night they played. But anyway, Sixers are in the sixth spot right now. All right, 43-35, 4 games remaining. All right, tonight they are at the Spurs, and then on the 9th they are at the Rockets. Then on the 10th, in the second night of a back-to-back, they play Pacers, and then they come back home to close out the season against the Bucks. Right? So the tough part about this is there's a back-to-back built in here. So we know already right now that's the Spurs on the 9th and the Pacers on the 10th. We know that Joel's not going to play in one of those games. Just like he did with the Minnesota and Timberwolves back-to-back, right? But I keep saying this, and I always feel like Sixers always do it wrong, just in my opinion. And especially at this time of the year. Like now, you played the Minnesota Timberwolves, who had some injuries. You ended up winning that game, yes. Okay, Joel Embiid played that game, fine and well. played against Rudy Gobert, yada, 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 whatever you want to call it. I felt like he should have sat out that game if he was going to sit out and hit it back-to-back. Sit out that game and play in the Detroit game, an East Coast game, a game that would have gave us some leverage. Because, like I said, the Raptors lost. If we had won that game, and who knows, right? You could have been closer to that 5 spot instead of the 6 spot with 4 games remaining. So, again, I don't know which game he's going to play in that. Arguably, it's probably going to be the Rockets because the Pacers aren't going anywhere. But it still could be a win for the Sixers. And I mean, it's the last 2 games are Eastern Conference games. But it's been going around the latest buzz going around the league. And it's even coming from the Sixers players, some of the Sixers players with their confidence growing and building, that the Philadelphia 76ers are a team that could be dangerous, that a lot of people don't and won't want to see in the playoffs. I hope that we can bypass the play-in tournament and finally get that 6th spot and hold on to it. Again, like I said, it's going to be tough, but even if they fall back to 7, and I think they can win that first game and then take a little breather and be at that number 7 spot at worst, and then the rest of the guys play for the 8 spot, whatever. But again, like I've been saying all season, and I was actually proud earlier in the season when I said this, and I'm talking about some of the players that were picked up this year. And these are the guys like the Dominic Barlows, the Trendon Watfords, right? You bring Quentin Grimes back. You make the draft and you draft VJ Edgecombe. But, and Jabari Walker also earlier in the season, right? And those guys, Walker, Barlow, Grimes and Watford. Typically what I mentioned to you, I said this to you guys before, I said typically these are the guys that the Sixers usually get on the roster, fill out rosters. And they either ride the season out, hardly ever play, or they end up being part of deals and trades and whatever. But this particular season, they kept these guys. One of them even got a two-way contract turned into a legit NBA contract, right? So that helps. And with the injuries that they had and the 25-game suspension for Paul George, they got a lot of minutes. They got a lot of playing time. So again, that helps in the system because now if and when these guys get minutes in the playoffs or how many minutes they get in the playoffs, it won't be like a deer in the headlights for them, right? They'll be kind of comfortable. And I mean, I know there'll be some jitters for some of them because it'll be first time playoffs if they get to play. But again, overall, in the grand scheme of things, there won't be a lot of jitters as far as gameplay. They'll be comfortable, all right, because they're used to playing with these guys now. I think the hardest part is going to be putting the starting 5 together and also having the big 3.5 get some games under their belt together, even though it's a late push. Get some more games under their belt together and build some momentum to carry into the playoffs. And if that's the case, I think everything will take care of itself, especially the way Paul George has been playing. We know the kind of player that Maxey is, and he's like just wanting to catch up from everything that he missed, right? We know who Joel is when he plays. We're starting to learn who VJ is and can be. We know about Kelly Oubre. We know about Grimes. Also, now you think about it in a small way, a little bit of veteran in that guard spot with Cameron Payne. And again, he's a little bit bigger. And I know I'm going to catch some flack for that because of the Jared McCain thing. But with Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey, we were small at guard. Cameron Payne is not a lot bigger, but it's a veteran, a little bit bigger, right? And you can use him sparingly. You don't have to use him a lot, right? So again, the Sixers are in a great, I'm not going to say great, they're in a good place. Again, we still got 4 games to play. We need to win as many of them as we can. Some people will debate and argue like, oh, even if we get a split, we might be okay. I haven't seen the remaining games, the remaining roster for the teams that we have the tiebreaker over. Instead, is the Raptors. Again, the Raptors, the Hornets, and the Magic. I haven't seen the remaining schedules for them, so I can't really get a beat on them. But I'm not really concerned with them. I'm concerned with the Sixers and the Sixers doing what they need to do to stay in that sixth spot and possibly try and even move up a little further. All right. So we'll see what happens. Right. We will definitely see what happens. Keeping it with it, WNBA held an expansion draft over the weekend as well. Again, I reported to you a couple of weeks ago that they got a contract. They got a deal done, a new CBA, a lot of great stuff for the women. If you haven't seen it, you can Google it, look it up, or go back to some shows and check it out. Anyway, the expansion draft for the two expansion teams, the Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo. None of these names are like really familiar, so I'm not going to give you all of these names like that. I wrote them down, but I'm not going to give you all these names because they're not really important names or like names that anybody's familiar with, in all honesty. There was one trade that I got wind of today in the WNBA. Angel Reese has been traded from the Chicago Sky to the Atlanta Dream for 2 future first-round picks. It was not an issue of her wanting to be traded. She never asked for a trade. What was reported was that the Chicago Sky are looking to go into a different direction, which in the NBA that you typically means rebuild. The double queen and the Sky, her camp and the Sky work together to find a good place for her. So they did it. It was the Sky's decision, and like I said, it's one of those things kind of very similar to the NBA, where the NBA has players. They may not necessarily ask for a trade, but they might be on a bad team, and then it gets to the point where trade deadlines come, and the team's pretty much sure that they're not going to make the playoffs. They've already made up their mind about a rebuild, and they try to move that player to give them a chance to compete or even be on a contender. And I think that's what the Chicago Sky did with Angel Reese and her camp. They worked together and found a place for her that she can go and still be successful and still compete for a title in the WNBA. So that's that. Also, Baron Davis and Ramon Sessions are partnering to provide entrepreneurial opportunities for athletes, which I think is a great thing. Because we read about and hear about so many athletes who get duped by so many scamming and conniving people and crooks and snakes, that this is going to help them be an entrepreneur and start their own business. Like I said, entrepreneur, it's their own. They're not funneling money to somebody else. They're not giving it to somebody else. They're doing this all themselves. So I think that's a great thing for pro athletes in general. And I'm smiling. We all know what happened in North Carolina in the NCAA tournament. Yeah, it happens. Fortunately, it was my team this year, my guys this year, that it happened to. Shortly after that, Hubert Davis was fired after 5 years. And for me, arguably, and my thoughts after watching that game, I felt like it was some coaching issues that took place late in that game that should not have. But that's neither here nor there. But the better news is UNC is hiring NBA champion, former Denver Nuggets coach Mike Malone to be our next head coach at North Carolina for the basketball team. Dude, better watch out, because we got some things coming. They talked to Mike Krzyzewski, and he kind of joked about it, talking about Bill Belichick being the football coach. But nonetheless, that is what's going on. UNC basketball is set to hire Mike Malone as their next head basketball coach. How about them apples, right? Nobody wanted to hear that, especially not Duke. Anybody in the ACC didn't want to go. They didn't want to hear about that, I'm sure. So, with that being said, got some more stuff to talk to y'all about. So, like I said, I wanted to do some rebranding. and I wanted to bring more of the hip hop culture into the sports, as I know, into the sports show, as it ties in so greatly. And I got a couple things I want to talk to y'all about that. And Instagram, y'all there, give me some pointers. If not, when the video goes up in YouTube and y'all hear this thing, just comment and let me know what y'all feel. Before I get into that part, though, I've got some new NFL rules changes that will be coming into play this year. There's 5. Go through these, and we're gonna talk a little bit about them before we get into the other stuff. Right? Number 1, they're going to permit the kicking team to declare an onside kick at any time during the game. Still, where it used to be. You know, they went to that thing. Oh, you can only kick an onside kick if you're down, and then if it's in the fourth quarter, and this. Too much. Too much. It's no need to complicate the game. That's already somewhat complicated with all the other rules and stuff that they added in. Like, to this day, I'm probably sure we still all do not know what a completed catch is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you know I'm right. But I think that's a good thing, that one there, because that's the way it used to be. I mean, I've seen game when teams started the game, opening kickoff was an onside kick, right? And you play the game to win the game. That's what you play for. You play to win. Somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to lose. And you're exposed to go out there and do everything in your power to try and win that game. So I think that's a good one. All right, moving on. Number 2, eliminate the kicking team's incentive to intentionally kick the ball out of bounds when kicking off from the 50-yard line. Like, that's kind of a stretch. I don't know how that's going to work. You know, you kick the ball off from the 50-yard line, they get it kicked out of bounds, they get it at the 40 anyway. So why would they do that? Like, I mean, they try to kick it out of bounds, they're just going to try and pin you deep instead of, but if it goes out of bounds, yeah, you know, like I said, it's already confusing, a lot of the NFL rules. So why are they trying to confuse it even more? I don't understand it. Number 3, modify the kickoff alignment requirements for the receiving team in the setup zone. So I think that's a good one. I'll have to look at it, have to see it, and see what they mean exactly and see how it works. Because as of right now, you know, that new kickoff thing where nobody can move. Once the kicker kicks the ball, nobody can move until one of the receiving team players catches the ball, touches the ball. They're saying now they're going to modify the kicking alignment requirements. So maybe they're going to put some shifts in there. Maybe they can realign some type of way or something to help and support those 2 kickoff returns that are back there like on an island by themselves. Puts a little bit more pressure on the defense now because now you're going to have to engage it a little sooner, but whatever. Number 4, for 2026, they're going to allow the NFL officiating department to correct, and they have in quotes, clear and obvious, end quote, misses by on-field officials that impact the game. This one, I feel like is going to be fun. As I can go back to some games and point out a lot of clear and obvious misses that occurred. So this is kind of like what the NBA is kind of doing with their replay. But I think this could work. I think this could help. I just don't want it to get out of hand. And there's a fear with the NFL that this could get out of control. But again, I like the thought process. You know, the officiating department can correct. Like, if you see it, correct it. That's why I said I can go through a list, go through a bunch of games, not just Eagles games, but other games where calls were like blatantly missed. And I go and look, and I go back and look at the replay in slow motion. There's an official like almost standing right there or right there, either very close or right there on the play, and the call is missed. So, and finally, number 5, allow league personnel to consult with on-field officials when considering disqualifications for both non-football acts without being called onto the field. So I like that one as well, because, like we say, when you're on the field, you're going to see things in full speed. You're going to see things in the naked eye. And there is a chance that you might miss on. This is why they have replay, and this is why they can do replay in slow motion. So for that disqualifications, for non-football acts, for both, right? Both non-football acts and without being called on the field, right? So again, this might help with that retaliation thing, because we always know the person that retaliates when something goes on outside of a play, something happens. The person that retaliates always gets caught. They always get the flag. And a lot more times than not, that person is the one that's a little bit more aggressive because they kind of heated that the ref didn't see it, and it was probably a cheap shot. And then they get heated, those emotions come out, and then they're the ones that get caught and then get ejected. This rule, personnel can say, oh, wait a minute. It was a little rough, but you got to go back and see what happened. What made him do that? It wasn't just like out of the clear blue, he just snapped it. Oh, I'm going to punch the guy in the face. No. Something had to occur. Something had to happen in order for that player to react in the way that they did, right? If that's the case, you disqualify both of them. But they're going to work on that. And I think that's a good thing as well, to have them work on that. Because it needs to be done, like I said, because we already know that typically when we look at situations like that, it's always the retaliator that gets caught and gets penalized for the actions, right? So, like I said, I wanted to bring more culture into the show, present it to you in a way and how it ties into the sports and sport, any particular sport, right? Today I'm sticking with basketball for right now. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the current state of basketball and hip hop. And then I'm going to talk about some trends. All right, so current state, basketball and hip hop. All right, these two cultural forces have shaped each other throughout decades. And it says often blurring the lines. I'm going to take that part out. It says blurring the lines or crossing them completely. Taking the blurring them out because they have crossed over completely. It's there. All right. Like I said, the two subcultures found themselves entangled and nearly inseparable. All right. Its synchronicities like this have defined the relationship between basketball and hip hop, cementing the two as indivisible components of urban culture. So, urban culture, basketball fans, football fans, right? And you know, without me saying it, urban areas, basketball is probably the number one sport. Then you got football. And then baseball, it gets sprinkled in. And because we're in Philly, we're talking about the trifecta, the Flyers, and not so much for the urban, right? Still mixed feelings in our current state, but there are loyal fans, okay? So we don't have the mixtapes anymore, the and-ones, no more Dream Team, no more of the spectacular Michael Jordan dunks or moves around the rim, no more crossovers from AI, no more of the Kobe signature moves, and also going into that, the days of legitimate rap beefs, actual lyricism, playing on mainstream hip-hop radio, breakdancing, graffiti, and DJing, the millennial fans, top 5 greats who have all retired the mic or tragically passed. So it's tied in. It's like entangled, like they said, it's entangled, right? You see what similarities are there that are missing. And again, the answer truly varies, right? Again, like they said, they had, there's a kid out here who was born in the new millennium who only recognizes LeBron as their GOAT and thinks Future is a top 5 caliber rapper, right? So like we said, let's go back to that for a second. We talk about the rap, right? If you're in my era, 80s, 90s, like they said, we had rap music that we can still sing to this day. If the song comes on the radio, if we hear it, we can sing it to this day. We had a function, something. A song come on from the 80s that was our jam. We can sing it to this day. I don't know what these kids are going to do when they get to be our age. Because they're not going to remember none of the stuff that's being said because you can barely understand it now. There are a few where you can understand some stuff, but the majority, you can't. A lot of the music is also so dark. And then you got the drill music now, right? When we came up, we had some battles, but the battles were fun. Our music was, again, not violent, not dark. You could sing the whole song, you could dance to it, or you could just chill and listen to it and just bob your head with your fellas or whoever. So it's a big difference between then and now. And that's also the way it is with basketball. You got this load management, and I talked about this last week with Richard Jefferson's comments. You got this load management stuff and all these injuries, these players that don't want to play in back-to-backs and all this other stuff. When we were playing, well, we're not playing, when we grew up on basketball, 80s, 90s, our players played. Our stars played. Okay, I read a clip, when you're talking about this, I read a clip about AIA. I said that he got to the point where they would have to hide his jersey so he couldn't play. Because he told them, nah, yo, I'm not sitting out, I'm playing. I'll tell y'all a story a lot about Kobe Bryant when he talked to his wife about why. She asked him why is he going with nagging injuries. And he told him, said, because some people in that stadium paid their hard-earned money and brought their kid maybe to see me play. Who am I to disrupt that? Who am I to not make that happen? If I can get out there and play, I'm going to go play. These guys played through injuries. There was no load management. Now, again, like they say, a lot of these players now are soft. They get a hangnail and it's load management. Now my whole finger hurts. I can't do anything. I got to sit out for a game or two. I tweak my ankle. I got to sit out for a week. Back then, you tweak your ankle, you get some extra tape on it, and you come back out and you play. Or the next game, you extra tape it and you play. So similarities, like I said, it's all tied in. Right? All tied in together. So we got some trends, right? And this is how it starts. The intersection of hip-hop culture and the NBA in 25-26 is defined by a deep symbiotic relationship where the two words are nearly indistinguishable. Driven by what we didn't have back then, social media, high fashion tunnel walks, and shared culture narratives. The synergy has matured from simple musical shout-outs into a full lifestyle brand with players acting as influencers and rappers becoming invested partners in the game. All right, so let's talk about that. Before we get into the list, let's talk about that opening just a little bit. All right. It says, driven by social media. Of course, you didn't have social media back then, right? You had to be on it. You had to be watching it. You had to be in tune with it, right? Now, high fashion tunnel walks. I'm in Philly. Go to Sixers games, and you go to any other games. You go watch TV. They call it the drip cam here, and they also say drip, check out the drip, whatever. And they show these guys coming in with their outfits because back then, before the Iverson era, you had to wear a suit and tie. Then Iverson broke that, and then it's just been carried on. So now they wear whatever they wear, and it's now a huge fashion show. You even have some guys in the NBA that have started clothing lines because they're into fashion that much. Again, that crossover. Style, hip-hop culture, fashion, basketball. It's tying in, right? I hear where I'm going with this. The shared cultural narratives, right? A lot of rappers now either have lines or punchlines in their songs dedicated to athletes. A lot of NBA athletes. You also have a lot of athletes who are now becoming invested in the game in a lot more ways than you think. There are a lot of NBA players who are now talking about future in the future that are talking about in the future owning NBA franchises. Right? They do so much other stuff also as well. Right? So again, we still tied in. It's hard now to separate. Okay. These are some of the latest trends, like we just talked about. The tunnel walk. Right. You see it on TV. Like I said, you go to the Sixers game, they call it the drip cam. And what they do is on the big jumbo screen, they show some of the Sixers players coming in, and then they go through the stands and show the fans, put the fans up on the big screen. Right. Give them their moment to shine. Deepening brand and financial partnerships. All right. Listen to this. Rappers are no longer just courtside fixtures, but invested business partners, like I just said. Exemplified by Jay-Z's former stake in the Brooklyn Nets and continued associations between major artists Drake and the Toronto Raptors. Right? Drake is an ambassador of basketball for the Toronto Raptors. They're invested now. Right? Music and athlete crossovers. The lines continue to blur as NBA players pursue music careers. So many players in the NBA that rap, that will say they can rap, but some of them are good, some of them are not. Damian Lillard, and this also goes back to Shaq on national records with the Fushnikins, on his own records. Kobe being a rapper, God rest his soul, being a rapper, having a rap album. AI even having some talent and putting out a rap album at one point. All right. Now they talk here, they say Damian Lillard. And then you have rappers that are heavily engaged with teams. Okay. Again, the social media issue. The 2025-2026 season continues to feature intense social media interaction with players and rappers such as NBA YoungBoy and James Harden cross over into each other's spaces. So many of these NBA athletes are friends with so many of these rappers and vice versa. They just intertwine all together. All right, social justice and activism. Both arenas continue to act as platforms for social change, blending athletic performance with activism on racial and economic equality. You saw how that played out, right? Colin Kaepernick, the WNBA's movement, and all of that. All right. Rhythm and play style. Modern basketball is increasingly analyzed through the lens of hip-hop flow. And they have flow in quotes. With commentators comparing the improvisational, high-paced nature of the game to sampling and rap artistry. Goes back. That's not new. Bless his soul as well. Stuart Scott always used hip-hop phrases or lines from songs when he did his commentary on TV. It's just circling back. You know, like the old saying, what goes around comes around, right? History repeats itself. It's coming back. No, it's not coming back. It's back. Content and digital curation. Short form, social first content, TikTok and Instagram, they dictate the connection. With top tracks, particularly from artists like Kendrick Lamar and Travis Scott, and frequently soundtracking highlights. And again, these are the artists and the music that these players listen to in their headphones when they're coming in the locker room, in their pregame warm-ups, right? If you ask them, they'll tell you, I'm listening to this guy and this guy and that guy. And all these guys, they'll tell you are probably relevant right now. Some of the people that are in my age, in my 50s and up, you probably won't recognize most of them. But you understand what I mean, where I'm going with that, right? Eagles. Let me stop there. I just said Eagles. I blurred out because I turned my head. So there we have that, right? That crossover, that's there. We know it's there, and it's going to be hard to take it away. It's going to be hard to loosen the reins because, like I said, it is so intertwined, so intertwined that it is definitely now hard to break apart and separate. It would take a lot to break apart and separate it right now. So we'll bring more stories like this to the table. Football season is coming, so I'm going to be branching in to see how that culture, also goes into football. Of course, we're going to show you the drip because that's all they do now. That's going to be in it as well, so we're going to start there. But I know it's going to be more ties to football with the hip-hop culture. I'm certain in other sports. So that's where we are with hip hop in the NBA for now. I'm sure as we progress, things will change as they always do. But I'll be here for you. I'll try to keep up with the changes and give you the changes and bring them all to you so you can understand the changes as well. NFL draft is coming April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. The Eagles have some picks. The Eagles also have some money. Started out a little bit lower. Now with some moves that they made, they now sit seventh. Kirk, what's happening, homie? They now sit at number 7, I believe now, in the salary cap with 34.8 million now available in salary cap space. Still listening and wondering what's going on with the AJ Brown situation. The news has quieted down some. April, very beginning of April, and you got to take this stuff right now. You got to take this stuff very, very closely. Take it with a couple grains of salt because it's right after April Fool's Day. So just be mindful and pay attention to what you're reading on social media. Right? There are so many fake sites, fake pages, and posers out there, but I give them credit. A lot of times they do the work and they catch you. Like I said, I do the show, so I kind of have learned what to look for and how to read things. And again, I always read stuff before I bring it to the table, if I bring it to the table. And it's not just what I read like on social media. I get social media and then I start researching it. Right? So I dig a little deeper before I bring it to the table. So I know what I'm talking about and I know how to deliver it to my peoples. Okay? But the Eagles have some picks. I think there's 7. Right? So I got a couple mock drafts here. Right? First round. So the Eagles do have it. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have 9 picks this year. So they have a pick in at least one pick in every round except for round 7. But totaling 9. All right. Again, in this draft, and I looked at this mock draft, they address some positions of need and they also add some depth at some positions. Okay. So first round pick number 23, they have from Indiana, Omar Cooper, a junior wide receiver, 6 foot, 199 pounds. Again, this is adding depth after we know what they did. As of right now, you still have your 1-1, AJ and Devontae. They brought in Hollywood Brown and they brought in Elijah Moore. So they brought in some good ones. This is just adding some depth to that wide receiver core and that wide receiver room. All right. These are not in exact order, but again, addressing another need at linebacker, Malachi Lawrence from University of Central Florida. Again, a whole need, right? Next up, Max Clare, tight end from Ohio State. Again, building some depth there. You got Dallas Goedert, who's up in age and is on a 1-year deal. You brought in Johnny Munt from Jacksonville. You also brought back Calcaterra. But mostly you have one pass-catching tight end, which is Goddard. The other 2 are more blocking of the surfaces tight ends. So it was always said that the Eagles would be looking for a tight end, arguably looking for a tight end in the draft. We also know that they are going to be looking for offensive linemen. They got to get some more depth on that offensive line. All right, so this one, first pick offensive lineman, Demetrius Crownover. Doesn't say what exact position, but offensive line out of Texas A&M, and he's a senior. All right, so he's got some experience. Looking for help in that secondary as well, because we still got some issues back there with one safety. Got Bud Clark from TCU. Moving along, they said also that they might add a quarterback to put some quarterback depth. They got North Dakota State senior Cole Payton. Another linebacker, Harold Perkins Jr. from LSU. A running back, maybe for special teams and practice squad from Indiana, Kaylon Black. And another offensive lineman, Miami Inez Cooper. Right? So that's what they have initially. But I saw another one. I saw another draft that had them taking 2 offensive linemen. This one had 2 offensive linemen, but these were just like one of them was an interior offensive lineman that could play multiple positions. The other one just said offensive line. So I think the Eagles will be good. Again, I think they're waiting out to see what happens if anyone actually answers or anyone takes that price that they have on AJ. It's a steep price, and it very well should be. I do not blame Howie one bit for making the price as steep as it is, because AJ is the type of talent you can't just give away. You made a trade a few years back to get him. You immediately signed him to an extension. You had an amazing time with him here. He won a Super Bowl here. And then the year after the Super Bowl, the camaraderie of the coaching staff got in the way, in my opinion. It all came to a head, and there were some issues late in the season. All right? We all know NFL wide receivers are divas. We've been through this before. Been through it before, all through the league. We've been through it before here in Philadelphia. Terrell Owens. We know it, right? So it happens. But again, I don't think he'll get moved until after June to save all that money on the cap. Again, save that space for that dead cap hit. But I honestly don't think that anybody, in all the rumors you're seeing behind the scenes, I don't really believe that teams are going to be in position or going to want to give up what he's asking for with what they've already done. Because the last couple of days, or the last week or two, I've been hearing stuff on the internet how the Eagles' moves they've made, the quiet moves that they've made, somewhat under the radar moves, puts them in a situation to be like the Sixers are right now in the NBA. It's scary. And if they can make a move like that, they keep AJ, that makes them that much more scary. But again, they're not going to give up AJ and get like whatever you give us just to draft it. No, y'all going to give us something back too. Howie, let Howie cook. All right? Believe me. All right? I've been here long enough, been around Howie, been around here dealing with Howie and listening to Howie and watching him work to know if something happens, it is going to be for the benefit of the team. And it's going to be what Howie wants. If it's not what Howie wants, there is no deal that is going to happen. Because in all honesty, the Eagles do not have to trade him. Whatever noise he makes doesn't matter. Kind of goes back to that Ben Simmons situation. They do not have to trade you. They are not obligated to trade you because you are under contract. We know how that plays out. You don't get traded. You don't come to work. You start getting fined. Then you start losing money. Then you make your mind up and say, oh, maybe I need to get back to work. So we'll see what happens, right? I'm going to keep my ear to the street, as always. And any news that I get, I will definitely post when I can, and I will bring it back to y'all and share with y'all as much as I can. So, before we close out, again, I made a post. And that post was on social media, of course. And it was about 2 all-time starting 5s, basketball teams. 2 teams. It was a comparison to see who would win. I posted it. I have to go back and say, I saw some people look. I didn't see many comments. I saw like 1 full comment. That's 2 comments. 2 Inspired Fitness, my guy, and my cousin, Chris, 386 Chris, at 386 Chris on Instagram. Right? I saw those 2 comments. Got y'all. Chris, you know I mess with you all the time. We talking, but I got you. So the two teams were the Sixers and the Rockets. And again, I didn't make this up. I didn't pick the teams. I didn't pick the two teams. I didn't pick the players, anything. Again, doing some research for today, it popped across my screen. And I looked at it and I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I think this could be something that we can conversate about, converse about, right? We could talk about, we could debate about it, all right? Because there are several ways that you can debate about it. Once I give you the list, you can debate about the all-time players actually on the list, and you can go and talk about who you think's going to win. But all I ask is that if you comment on it, if you did, and you pick your side, I need you to stand on your side, like I always say. Stand on the side that you pick. I'm not going to judge you and say, oh, this is wrong, whatever. No. But I want you to be able to elaborate and tell me why you feel Team A could beat Team B. Don't just tell me you picked Team B and just be done with it. No, I need you to tell me why. All right, I'm going to give you these names on each team. I'll give you the teams first. I'm going to give you the names. And again, like I said, if and when you comment, the team that you pick, right now, we're not changing the team. We're going with the two starting fives that I'm going to give you right now. But in your own point, in your own thoughts, when you comment, whatever team you pick, I need you to stand on it. And I also need you to elaborate and tell me some factors on why you think the team that you picked could win. All right? So, first team, it's the Houston Rockets. I'm going to go position. Point guard, small shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. Point guard, James Harden. And these are all time. Like I said, I did not pick these all-time starting fives. It came across my timeline, and I thought it was something fun to bring. All right. James Harden. At 2, Clyde Drexler. At the 3, T-Mac. At the 4, Rudy Tomjanovich. And at the center, at the 5, the Dream. Really good team. Right? I got some questions about some of these guys, but I'll give you the other team first, and then I'll go back and break down how I feel about some of these teams. All right. Second team is my Philadelphia 76ers. Point guard. You got my guy, AI, Allen Iverson, Bubba Chuck. Whoever you want to call him. Bubba Chuck, whatever you want to call him. All right. At the 2, legend, Hal Greer. At the 3, another legend. And I'm just saying legend because this is my favorite team. There are legends on this other team as well. Don't get me wrong. Dr. J, Julius Winfield Erving. At the 4, Charles, Chuck, round mound of rebounds, Barkley. And at the 5, Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain. Who do you think would win? For me, and this is not just because I'm a Sixers fan. I'm a basketball fan first, then a Sixers fan. So like I said, I mentioned when I said this a couple Sixers things, I said legends with a couple players, right. Legends on other side too. Clyde, T-Mac, the Dream. All right. So, looking at the Rockets, I think the Sixers would win. All right. And let's look at, I'm going to do it this way. I think the Sixers would win, and I'm going to tell you why by each position. The point guard, AI, although small, one of the toughest guards to ever play the game. And there's a lot of people that played the game against him and with him that will tell you that. Like I mentioned to you earlier, there were times when he was hurt. He tried to play all the time. He said there were times when the Sixers organization had to hide his jersey so he couldn't play. So I think that toughness gives us an edge. On the other side, at the point guard, James Harden. No slouch. Also had a stint here in Philly. AI gave you everything 110% every night, no matter what. He always liked to say, I'm going to play every game like it's my last game. That's not James Harden. You can look at me crazy and whatever. Again, I'm a basketball fan. I like a lot of things that he does on the court. But I also remember him being here when we had Boston by the throat And then these guys quit. He was the spearhead of it. Quit. He did the same thing in Jersey. He quit. There's been an ongoing rumor that he does not fully show up in the playoffs. Like I just told you, AI gives you 110% every night, playing every game like it's his last game. At the 2, Hal Greer versus Clyde. I love Clyde. Love Clyde. I just think, even though the game has now gotten away a lot from fundamentals, back when Hal played, there was a lot of fundamental play in the game. So I'm going to go with Hal there also. All right. It's probably going to be a landslide, except for the center spot. The center spot might be somewhat even, whatever. But again, like, no disrespect to Clyde, but some of y'all watching this might not know who Hal Greer was. When I'm done, you got every opportunity to go to Google and check him out. All right. And then again, like we said, some of these players are in different eras. Like I said, I did not pick these all-time teams. Again, you can easily argue that, but different eras. At the small forward, Dr. J versus T-Mac. Love T-Mac. T-Mac hadn't gotten hurt, didn't have all those injuries. Who knows what could have been? But we all know who Dr. J is and who he was, where he came from. We know what he did in the ABA. We know what he did at Rucker Park, and we know what he did in the NBA. If you listen to Michael Jordan, you know that's where he got his stuff from the doctor. Power forward, Barkley, Rudy Tomjanovich. I didn't see much of Rudy Tomjanovich. I heard he was very, very skilled, fundamentally skilled, right? But again, Charles Barkley, the aggressive nature, the I'm not quitting. You're going to have to deal with me all night long. Kind of gives us an aggressive edge, I think. And then at the center for me here is tough. Because both of these guys I put in my top centers of all time. Along with Kareem. And if Joel Embiid could stay healthy, or when he's healthy, I could put him in that mix too. And then there's some other centers that could be thrown in there as well. But with these two, with Wilt revolutionizing the game. Wilt is the reason that the lane is now a rectangle instead of like the trapezoid when the game first started. For a time during basketball play, guys were not allowed to dunk, and that carried into the ABA because of Wilt. Because he was too big. He was the biggest one on the court. You look at the other side, and you look at the Dream. What do I have to say? The Dream shape. I mean, what can I say? I mean, great, right? Great. To this day, people seek out his knowledge and train with him and get tutelage from him in learning the game. And I'm not just talking centers. I'm talking forwards and guards and other positions. So for me, I think that the Sixers will win this matchup. Just like I said, because of the aggressiveness at that point guard and that power forward. And then, like I said, T-Mac versus Dr. J. I love T-Mac, but number 6 is number 6. It is what it is. Number 6 is number 6. So I think the Sixers will win. I just gave y'all my reasons. So that's the same thing I need you all to do if and when you comment on this topic. Again, it's posted. You can go back to the page at SportsRap CEO on Instagram and on TikTok. It's there. Give me your comments again. But like I said, when you read it, take your time, think about it, because I need you to tell me what team you think will win, and I need you to stand on it and give me some proof or some reasoning why you think that team could win. All right. That being said, another great show in the books, folks. I definitely appreciate everybody that tuned in. Coach Lowell Rich, as always, on Instagram. Larry Simmons on Instagram as well. My guy, Kurt Battle. EA is squared. joined and tuned in. Everybody that's on TikTok that tuned in, I thank you all for your support as well. Monday night games, schedules. Monday night baseball. Cubs, Rays, Royals, Guardians, Reds, Marlins, Padres, Pirates, Brewers, Red Sox, Cardinals, Nationals, Dodgers, Blue Jays. The Orioles face the White Sox, Tigers and the Twins, the Mariners and the Rangers, the Astros and the Rockies, the Braves and the Angels, and the Phillies and the Giants. The NBA, the Knicks and the Hawks, Pistons and the Magic games that plays major implications for the Sixers. Also that Knicks-Hawks game because the Hawks are playing as well. The Cavs and the Grizzlies, the Sixers and the Spurs, the Blazers and the Nuggets. In the NHL, you got the Lightning and the Sabres, the Kraken and the Jets, the Blackhawks and the Sharks, the Predators versus the Kings. And closing out NCAA tournament play, college basketball season will come to a complete end tonight with the men's title game, UConn versus Michigan. I think that game will probably be about 9 on CBS. So make sure you tune in and check that out. Best of luck to UConn. Best of luck to Michigan. Again, one more last time. Shout out to Dawn Staley for getting to the championship game again, although it did not go the way that she wanted it to. Definite shout outs and kudos to her. And again, one last time, kudos and shout outs to my guy, James Clark, assistant coach, player development coach for the UCLA women's basketball team. Y'all know where to find me all week on social media. TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at SportsRap CEO. All 3 places. Make sure you get over to the YouTube, right? SportsRap TV. You know the trifecta there. You know what to do. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up on the videos that you like. And then hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell to make sure you get alerted when new content is up. All right? Webpage still in the workings. Don't forgive me. I'm slow with it, but I'm getting it together. I'm updating it, changing some things around. Got to get it right before I publish it. Also, Patreon. Heat 100. SportsRap podcast.patreon/patreon.com. Get over there. There's some clips over there from the interview I did Saturday. Or they will be there. Some photos there. Some interview clips will go up. Also, make sure you check that video out too. Did a video interview on Saturday. That video is up on YouTube right now. This one will be up very soon to follow. Right? Be great on purpose. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Be prepared for Tuesday. Shout outs to the Dope. Shout outs to the ABA. Shout outs to the Burlington Thoroughbreds. Shout outs to the owner, Rashana Johnson. Got the basketball in the background. You see it, the Johnson ball. If you want one, I can show you how to get one. And also, shout outs to my guy, James Stanback, for doing the interview Saturday. Definitely appreciate you. Also, before I go, this coming weekend is going to be a busy weekend for your boy. I got the Philly All-American game, boys and girls high school, on Saturday. And then I got more high school basketball because I got the All-Star Labor Classic on Sunday. 2 days, some great high school basketball. Come on out and support these young people. I'm going to post all the information so you'll know where to come on Saturday and where to come on Sunday. And if you see your boy, make sure you stop me and say hi, take a pic or something, or pick my brain, ask me some questions about some stuff you've seen on the show or you want to see on the show.